The best tip for lifelong, pain-free joints. Ah, my friend, if only I had known this one simple thing earlier, I would have saved myself years of discomfort and frustration. You see, as the years go by, the body starts to whisper little complaints here and there. At first, they are easy to ignore. A little ache in the knee after a long walk. A tiny pinch in the shoulder when reaching up high. But those whispers don't stay quiet forever. They grow louder, more persistent, until one day, they refuse to be ignored. I was there once, struggling to get out of bed, wincing with every step, wondering if this was just the price of getting older. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I am here to tell you the best tip for lifelong, pain-free joints. You see, I tried all sorts of things. Expensive creams that promised miracles but delivered nothing but disappointment. Pills that dulled the pain for a while but did nothing to solve the problem. I even tried those gadgets they advertise on late-night television. Desperate people will believe almost anything when pain becomes a constant companion. But the truth, my friend, is far simpler than all that. It doesn't come in a bottle or a fancy device. It doesn't require you to empty your pockets. It's something so basic, so fundamental that most people overlook it. The secret is movement. Not just any movement. Not the frantic rush of daily chores or the occasional stretch when you remember. I'm talking about deliberate, gentle, consistent movement that keeps the joints lubricated and the muscles strong. You see, joints are like hinges. If you don't move them regularly and correctly, they get stiff, they rust, metaphorically speaking, and eventually they start to hurt. It is as simple as that. The body was designed to move. When we stop moving, we start dying slowly but surely. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I avoided movement because it hurt. I thought I was protecting myself by resting more, by being careful not to strain anything. But the less I moved, the worse it got. The pain didn't go away. It grew stronger, more stubborn. It wasn't until I met an old physical therapist who looked me straight in the eyes and said, "The pain is your body begging you to move." It sounded crazy at first. How could moving help when it was moving that hurt? But he explained it to me patiently. Joints need circulation to stay healthy. Circulation comes from movement. When you stop moving, the circulation slows down, the lubrication dries up, and the pain gets worse. He started me on the simplest of exercises. Gentle rotations of the wrists and ankles. Slow bends of the knees while holding onto a chair for support. Just a few minutes a day. I won't lie to you. It was uncomfortable at first. My joints were stiff and they protested with every movement. But I trusted his words and I kept at it. Slowly, the stiffness began to melt away. The pain didn't vanish overnight, but it did get better little by little. It was like oiling a rusty hinge. It took time and patience, but the more I moved, the smoother it became. The key is consistency. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day, it makes a world of difference. I started with 10 minutes because that's all I could manage. But as the pain lessened, I found myself enjoying the freedom of movement. I could walk a little farther. I could stand a little longer. I even dared to dance again, something I hadn't done in years. It was like getting my life back one small step at a time. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a fitness fanatic or spend hours at the gym. That's not what this is about. It's about gentle, mindful movement that keeps your joints active and your muscles engaged. Even on days when I feel tired or lazy, I make myself move. Just a little. I circle my arms, I stretch my back, I bend my knees. Because I know that if I don't, the stiffness will come back. The pain will return. I have seen it happen to so many others who thought they could rest their way out of joint pain. It doesn't work that way. Rest when you're tired, but don't stop moving altogether. I have lived long enough to see people pay the price for neglecting this simple truth. Friends who became prisoners in their own bodies because they stopped moving. People who used to be active and vibrant, now struggling just to get out of a chair. It breaks my heart because I know it doesn't have to be that way. I see them and I want to shake them and say, it's not too late. You can still turn this around. But change is hard, especially when pain has convinced you to be still. I'm telling you this now because I don't want you to end up like that. I want you to live fully, freely, without the chains of pain holding you back. I want you to be able to run after your grandchildren, to dance at your child's wedding, to travel, to explore, to enjoy all that life has to offer. And it all begins with this one simple habit. Move, even if it's just a little, even if it hurts at first, because the pain isn't the enemy. It's a signal that something needs to change. It's your body's way of asking for help, and the best help you can give it is movement. Some days, I still feel a twinge here or there. I'm not a young man anymore, but I keep moving because I have learned that pain grows in stillness. It thrives on stagnation, but it can't hold on when you keep moving, even if it's just a slow, gentle stretch. I'm living proof of that. I know it sounds too simple to be true. I know it's tempting to look for a more complicated answer, but sometimes the simplest things are the most powerful. If you trust me on this and give it a try, you'll see the difference. It won't happen overnight, but one day, you'll wake up and realize you got out of bed without wincing. You'll walk down the stairs without holding on to the railing. You'll reach up to get something from the shelf and realize it didn't hurt. And in that moment, you'll understand the power of movement. What mental barriers stop people from moving when they're in pain, and how can they overcome them? There was a time when every step felt like walking on broken glass, when bending down seemed like a dangerous gamble. I became afraid of movement, afraid of making things worse. That fear grew roots inside me, deep and stubborn. I would sit for hours, frozen by the thought of pain. It was not just my joints that were stiff, it was my mind. I started to believe that pain was my new reality, that moving would only make it worse. I was wrong, but back then, it felt so real, so undeniable. The first mental barrier that stops people from moving when they are in pain is fear. It is the fear of making the pain worse, the fear of causing damage, the fear of feeling that sharp sting again. It is a powerful thing, fear. It wraps around you like chains, holding you back, convincing you to stay still. But here is the truth. Movement, gentle and deliberate movement, is the very thing that breaks those chains. The body was designed to move. When you stop moving, the pain does not go away. It settles in deeper, tightening its grip. I learned that the hard way. I thought I was protecting myself by resting more, by avoiding movement. But the pain only grew stronger. It wasn't until I found the courage to move, just a little at first, that I began to break free. The second barrier is doubt. Doubt that movement will help. Doubt that things can get better. When pain is a constant companion, it is easy to lose hope. Easy to believe that nothing will change. I remember sitting there, feeling defeated, thinking, what's the point? This pain is here to stay. But that doubt was lying to me. The point was freedom. The point was reclaiming my life, my mobility, my independence. I had to push through that doubt. I had to trust that movement was the answer, even when it felt uncomfortable, even when the progress was painfully slow. Another powerful barrier is frustration. The frustration of not being able to move the way you used to, of feeling weak, limited, vulnerable. It eats away at your spirit, makes you want to give up. I felt that frustration every day. I would compare myself to who I used to be, to what I used to be able to do, and it would crush me. But then I realized something. Comparing myself to my younger, pain-free self was pointless. What mattered was what I could do today, even if it was just a little, even if it was just 5 minutes of gentle stretching. It was still progress. It was still movement, and that was enough. There's also the barrier of pride. Pride, it is a stubborn thing. It makes you want to hide your pain, to pretend everything is fine, to avoid asking for help. But that pride can keep you trapped in suffering. I was too proud to admit how much pain I was in, too proud to let others see my struggle. But when I finally let go of that pride, when I accepted that I needed to move, even if it meant looking weak or clumsy, that is when the healing began. Sometimes, overcoming pain means letting go of pride, allowing yourself to move awkwardly, slowly, imperfectly. It means giving yourself permission to be a beginner again. So, how do you overcome these barriers? How do you find the courage to move when everything inside you is screaming to stay still? The answer is small steps, tiny, gentle movements. You do not have to run a marathon. You do not have to lift heavy weights. You just have to move. Start with the smallest, simplest movements. Circle your wrists. Wiggle your toes. Stretch your arms slowly. Just a few minutes each day. Because movement is like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but with consistency, it gains momentum. You also need to change the way you talk to yourself. I used to tell myself, I can't do this. It hurts too much. It's hopeless. Those words became my prison. I had to learn to speak differently. To say, I can try. I can move a little. I can get stronger. Words are powerful. They shape your reality. If you tell yourself you're stuck, you will be. But if you tell yourself you are healing, you will start to believe it. And then you will start to see it. Support helps too. I found strength in talking to others who were facing the same battles. Knowing I was not alone made it easier to keep moving. Sometimes just hearing someone say, I understand. I've been there. Keep going can make all the difference. Do not isolate yourself. Reach out. Share your struggle. You might be surprised at how many people are walking the same road. Lastly, patience is key. Healing is not a straight path. It is messy and unpredictable. Some days are better than others. Sometimes you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That is okay. That is part of the journey. Do not give up just because progress is slow. Every movement counts. Every step matters. Even the smallest effort is better than standing still. How can movement be adapted for those with severe joint pain or mobility issues? I used to think movement meant heavy lifting or running marathons. But when pain settled into my joints, I had to learn a different way, a kinder way. The first thing I realized is that movement does not have to be big to be effective. Even the smallest motions can make a difference. When pain is severe, start with the tiniest of movements. Wiggle your fingers. Circle your wrists slowly. Rotate your ankles while sitting down. These are not grand exercises. They're simple motions, but they keep the joints lubricated. They keep the blood flowing, and they remind your body that it can still move, even if just a little. Water became my best friend. If you have never tried moving in water, you are missing out on a miracle. In water, your body feels lighter. The pressure on your joints is reduced. You can move more freely, more comfortably. I started with just walking in waist-deep water. Then I added gentle leg lifts and arm circles. The water supported me, took the weight off my aching joints, and allowed me to move without fear of falling. It became my safe space, a place where pain did not dictate my limits. If you have access to a pool, try it. Even just walking or floating can do wonders. If not, even a warm bath with gentle movements can help relax stiff joints. I also learned the power of stretching, but not the harsh, intense kind you might imagine. No, these stretches were slow, deliberate, and mindful. I would sit comfortably and reach out as far as I could without pain. Sometimes that was just a few inches, but that was enough. Each day, I reached just a little further, never pushing past my limit. Stretching kept my muscles from tightening around the painful joints. It maintained my range of motion, even on days when walking felt impossible. Then there's chair yoga. When standing was too painful, I did not give up on movement. I simply adapted. Chair yoga allowed me to stretch, bend, and move without putting pressure on my knees or hips. I would sit tall, roll my shoulders, twist gently to the side, and breathe deeply. It was movement without impact. It was gentle, forgiving, and exactly what my body needed. You do not need fancy equipment, just a sturdy chair and the willingness to move, even while seated. Breathing became a powerful tool as well. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but deep, controlled breathing calms the body, eases tension, and helps you push through discomfort. I learned to synchronize my breath with my movements, inhaling deeply as I prepared to move, exhaling slowly as I stretched or lifted a limb. It gave me rhythm, control, and a sense of calm. When pain was overwhelming, focusing on my breath grounded me. It reminded me that I was in control, that I could face the pain and move through it. But the hardest lesson was learning to accept my limitations without giving up. I used to get so frustrated, so angry in my own body. I would push too hard, trying to force my joints to do what they could no longer do. And that only made the pain worse. I had to learn to be gentle with myself, to move with patience and kindness, to celebrate even the smallest victories. Some days that meant just standing up and sitting down a few times. Other days, it meant walking to the end of the driveway and back. It did not matter how far I went. What mattered was that I kept moving, kept trying. I also discovered the power of heat and cold. On days when my joints were too stiff to move, I would use a warm compress or take a warm bath to relax the muscles. On days when inflammation made everything throb, I would use an ice pack to numb the pain. Alternating heat and cold became part of my routine, preparing my body for movement and easing the pain afterward. It was not a cure, but it was a tool, one that allowed me to keep moving even on the hardest days. But I could not do it alone. I had to let go of my pride and accept help. I reached out to physical therapists, people who understood pain and knew how to adapt movement safely. They taught me exercises that were gentle yet effective. They helped me build strength without aggravating my joints. I learned to use resistance bands, lightweight tools that allowed me to work my muscles without lifting heavy weights. It was humbling, but it was also empowering. Asking for help did not make me weak. It made me stronger, smarter, more resilient. Above all, I learned that the mind is the most powerful muscle of all. Pain plays tricks on you. It convinces you that movement will make things worse, that staying still is safer. But that is a lie. Inactivity is the real enemy. It stiffens the joints, weakens the muscles, and makes the pain worse. I had to fight that fear. I had to remind myself daily that movement was my ally, not my enemy. And I did that by focusing on my goals, no matter how small they were. Some days, my goal was just to stand up without wincing. Other days, it was to walk a little further or stretch a little longer. Every goal, no matter how tiny, kept me moving forward. Are there common habits that silently contribute to joint deterioration over the years? I was always on the go, always busy. I thought sitting down was a luxury, a waste of time. But ironically, it was sitting that did the most damage to my joints. I spent years sitting at a desk, hunched over, lost in my work. I would sit for hours, barely moving. I did not realize that this stillness was slowly stiffening my hips and weakening the muscles that supported my knees. Our bodies are meant to move. When we sit too long, blood flow slows, cartilage does not get the nutrients it needs, and our joints become rigid. If I could do it all over again, I would stand up every hour. I would stretch, walk around, and give my joints the movement they craved. It is such a small habit, but it makes all the difference. Then there was my posture. I never paid attention to how I sat or stood. Shoulders slouched, back curved, head jutting forward. It felt comfortable at the time, but little did I know that poor posture was quietly misaligning my joints, putting unnatural pressure on them. My neck ached. My lower back throbbed. My knees started to buckle. It took me years to connect the dots and realize that my bad posture was the root cause. If only I had made the effort to sit up straight, to keep my shoulders back and my spine aligned. It is not about looking proper. It is about protecting your joints from unnecessary wear and tear. I used to think staying active meant going all out, pushing myself to the limit. I ran on hard pavements. I lifted heavy weights with bad form. I thought the harder I pushed, the stronger I would get. But I was wrong. I did not realize that high-impact exercises and improper techniques were grinding away at my cartilage, straining my tendons, and damaging my joints. It is not about how hard you push. It is about how smart you move. I learned that low-impact exercises like swimming, cycling, and walking are just as effective and far kinder to the joints. I also learned that proper form matters more than the weight you lift. If I could go back, I would trade my ego for mindfulness. I would move with intention, not aggression. Oh, and the shoes. I cannot believe how many years I spent wearing the wrong shoes. I chased after fashion, squeezing my feet into narrow, stiff shoes that looked good but did terrible things to my joints. High heels, flat sandals with no support, worn-out sneakers with no cushioning. They misaligned my ankles, strained my knees, and made every step a little more painful. It is funny how we do not think about our feet until they start to hurt. But every joint is connected. When the feet are unsupported, the knees and hips pay the price. If I could go back, I would invest in good, supportive shoes that fit properly. I would prioritize comfort over style because pain is never fashionable. Then there was my diet. I never thought about how food could impact my joints. I ate whatever was convenient, mostly processed junk full of sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats. It tasted good, but it fueled inflammation, swelling my joints, and making every movement a struggle. I did not drink enough water either. I did not realize that dehydration stiffens cartilage and reduces joint lubrication. It was a cruel cycle. The worse my diet, the worse my pain. It took me years to understand that food can either heal or harm. If I could go back, I would eat more fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats. I would drink more water, keeping my joints hydrated and flexible. It is not about dieting. It is about nourishing your body so it can move without pain. I wish I could say I always listened to my body, but I did not. I pushed through pain, thinking it was a sign of progress, not a warning sign. I ignored the twinges, the aches, the discomfort, and kept pushing until they turned into chronic pain. I thought rest was for the weak, but rest is what allows the body to heal. If only I had known that pain is the body's way of asking for care. If only I had rested when I needed to, I might have saved my joints from so much damage. But perhaps the most dangerous habit was thinking it could never happen to me. I thought joint pain was for the old. I was young, strong, and invincible. I never thought about prevention. I never thought about the future. But joint deterioration does not care about age. It cares about habits. And bad habits catch up with you sooner or later. I'm sharing this not to make you feel guilty, but to open your eyes. These habits are silent. They creep in without warning, and before you know it, the damage is done. But it is not too late to change. It is not too late to stand up more often, to correct your posture, to choose low-impact exercises, to wear supportive shoes, to eat nourishing foods, to rest when needed, and most importantly, to listen to your body. These changes are small, but they are powerful. They can protect your joints, preserve your mobility, and save you from the pain I have endured. Can diet and hydration enhance the benefits of movement for joint health? I used to eat whatever was convenient. Processed foods, sugary snacks, salty, greasy meals that satisfied my cravings but did my body no favors. It was only after my joints started protesting with every step that I began to pay attention. I realized that the food I was eating was feeding my pain. You see, certain foods fuel inflammation, making the joints swell and ache. I was eating foods that were attacking my body from the inside out, and I did not even know it. If I could go back, I would cut out the sugars, the refined carbs, the fried foods, and the processed junk. They tasted good, but they were slowly poisoning my joints. It was not just about cutting out the bad stuff. It was about bringing in the good. I learned that certain foods are like medicine for the joints. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, like salmon, chia seeds, and walnuts, can help reduce inflammation. Leafy greens like spinach and kale are packed with antioxidants that fight off damage. Fruits like berries and cherries have natural compounds that ease pain and swelling. And let us not forget about turmeric and ginger. Oh, how I wish I had discovered them sooner. These spices are powerful anti-inflammatories. I started adding them to my meals, and slowly but surely, the pain began to ease. It was not a miracle cure. It was consistency, day after day, feeding my body the nutrients it needed to heal. I used to laugh at people who fussed about drinking water. I thought it was just another health craze. But then I learned the hard way how dehydration can stiffen the joints. You see, our joints are cushioned by cartilage, which is mostly water. When we do not drink enough, that cushioning starts to dry out, making every movement feel like grinding bone against bone. I used to wonder why my knees felt so stiff, why my back ached so much. It was not just old age. It was dehydration. If I could go back, I would carry a water bottle with me everywhere. I would drink water before I felt thirsty, because thirst is a sign you're already dehydrated. But it is not just about drinking more water. It is about drinking less of the things that dehydrate you. I used to love my coffee. I drank cup after cup, thinking it was giving me energy. But I did not realize that caffeine was pulling water out of my body, leaving my joints dry and stiff. The same goes for alcohol. I thought a drink or two at the end of the day was harmless, but it was robbing my joints of the hydration they needed to stay flexible. If I could do it all over again, I would replace those drinks with water, herbal teas, or even bone broth, which is full of nutrients that support joint health. I learned that it is not just about what you eat or drink. It is about how you eat and drink. I used to rush through my meals, barely chewing before swallowing. I did not realize that proper digestion starts in the mouth. When you do not chew properly, your body struggles to absorb the nutrients, and your joints pay the price. I also used to skip meals, thinking I was too busy to eat. But starving your body of nutrients only weakens the joints. If I could go back, I would eat mindfully, slowly, and regularly, giving my body the fuel it needed to stay strong and flexible. Movement is powerful. It keeps the joints lubricated, the muscles strong, and the body agile. But without the right fuel and hydration, movement alone is not enough. I learned this the hard way. I was exercising, but I was not nourishing my body. It was like trying to run a car on an empty tank. If only I had known to combine movement with proper nutrition and hydration, I might have avoided so much pain. I started to notice the difference when I changed my diet and drank more water. Movement became easier. The stiffness eased. The pain lessened. I felt more energy, more strength, more flexibility. It was like my body was finally getting what it needed to move freely. I was not just exercising anymore. I was nourishing my joints from the inside out. It is not just about eating healthy once in a while. It is about consistency, about making these changes a part of your lifestyle. It is about choosing foods that heal, not harm. It is about drinking enough water every single day. It is about moving with purpose and fueling that movement with the right nutrients. If only I had known then what I know now. If only I had understood how powerful diet and hydration are for joint health. I cannot go back and change the years of bad habits, but I can share my story with you in the hope that you will not make the same mistakes. What is the biggest myth about joint pain that prevents people from finding real relief? I remember the first time my knees started aching. I was in my 40s, still feeling strong and capable. But one morning, out of nowhere, I felt a sharp pain shooting through my knees as I stood up. It was like my joints were on fire. I was scared. I thought I must have injured myself. So I did what most people do. I sat down. I rested. I avoided bending my knees too much. I stopped walking long distances. I stopped exercising. I thought I was doing the right thing. I believed that if I just rested long enough, the pain would go away. But days turned into weeks, and the pain did not leave. It only got worse. My knees became stiffer. It hurt even more to stand up. I started walking with a limp. And the less I moved, the more my body seemed to betray me. I did not understand what was happening. I was resting like I was supposed to. Why was the pain not going away? The truth hit me when I went to see an old physical therapist who had been helping people with joint pain for decades. I told him about my pain and how I had been resting to avoid making it worse. He looked at me with a knowing smile and said, "That is your problem right there. You are resting too much." I was shocked. I could not believe it. But then he explained it to me. He told me that joints are meant to move. When you stop moving them, they become stiff and weak. The muscles around the joints weaken too, which makes the pain worse. It is a vicious cycle. You rest because it hurts, but the more you rest, the more it hurts. I was stuck in that cycle, and I did not even know it. He showed me gentle exercises to keep my knees moving without overloading them. Just small movements, easy stretches, nothing intense or painful. It felt strange at first, moving when all I wanted to do was sit still. But I trusted him. I trusted his wisdom. And little by little, the pain began to ease. The stiffness started to melt away. I was amazed. It was like a miracle, but it was not magic. It was movement. I learned that joints need movement to stay lubricated. When you move, the fluid in your joints circulates, keeping them cushioned and flexible. Without movement, that fluid gets stagnant and the joints dry out, becoming stiff and painful. I also learned that muscles play a huge role in supporting the joints. When you stop moving, your muscles weaken, putting more stress on the joints. But when you move, you strengthen those muscles, taking the pressure off the joints and reducing pain. It is all connected. Movement is the key. The myth that pain means you should stop moving is a lie that steals your freedom. It keeps you trapped in fear, afraid to do anything that might make the pain worse. But the truth is, safe, gentle movement is the path to relief. It is about finding the right balance. It is about moving smart, not hard. It is about listening to your body without giving in to fear. I will not lie to you. It was not easy at first. I was afraid of the pain, afraid of making things worse. But I took it one step at a time. I started slow. I did not push too hard. And I learned to recognize the difference between discomfort and real pain. Discomfort is normal when you're rebuilding strength. It is part of the healing process. Real pain is sharp and persistent, and it is a sign to back off. Knowing the difference gave me the confidence to keep moving. I started doing simple stretches every morning. Nothing complicated, just gentle movements to keep my joints flexible. I walked a little every day, even if it was just around the house. I did light, strengthening exercises to support my knees. And little by little, I got stronger. The pain became less intense. The stiffness eased. I started moving more freely. I started living again. Looking back, I wish someone had told me the truth sooner. I wish someone had warned me about the myth that rest is the answer to joint pain. I wasted so much time being afraid to move. I lost precious years to pain and stiffness that could have been avoided. But I learned my lesson, and I am stronger for it. If you are struggling with joint pain, do not fall for the myth that you need to stop moving. Do not let fear hold you back. Start small, start gentle, but start moving. Find a physical therapist who can guide you if you are unsure where to begin. Listen to your body, but do not give in to fear. Movement is life. Movement is freedom. And no matter how much it hurts right now, there is hope. There is relief on the other side of that fear. I cannot go back and change my past, but I can share my story with you. I can pass on the wisdom that I learned the hard way. Do not let this myth steal your life like it almost stole mine. Move, even if it is just a little. Move, even if you're scared, because movement is the key to real relief. And once you break free from the myth, you will never look back. If you like today's discussion, don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel. So until next time, take care.